All right, we're live. I'm Bradley Thomas, and this is the Art of Changing Your Life Coaching. And this is the Take the Road to Freedom Summit. And today, my guest is Dana Garrison. Dana is an international business coach, business consultant, speaker, and author. Welcome, Dana. How are you?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'm doing this whole series so I get, everybody can help people find their purpose because once you know your purpose, you can make decisions faster, you have more confidence, you make more money. Everything else just gets easier once you actually know that. So if we can jump right into your story, why don't we, hear that and how you found your purpose? I know it's a unique one, and see how we can help some people.
Yeah, I actually found my purpose when it started when I was 15 years old, actually. And for me, it was one of those experiences where I had an awakening and I saw how much pain there was in the world. On a micro level, I saw how many people weren't happy in my own community, in my own neighborhood, my friends' parents. So many people were not doing what they loved. They were in dead-end jobs. They didn't really feel like they could do much to get out of it, it seemed like. They just felt stuck. And
Yeah.
even in their relationships didn't seem all that happy. Their health, sometimes they had health issues and their health wasn't all that good. So on a micro scale, I saw that it just seemed like a lot of people weren't happy because they weren't doing what they loved. Their relationships weren't just alive and robust and juicy, and maybe their health wasn't all that great either. And around 15 is when I also started to notice a lot of the pain in the world. So I started noticing how much struggle there was, how many world issues there were, societal issues, cultural issues. I mean, all the way from water and hunger and poverty, those kinds of elements. And I thought, wow, like it seems like no matter where I look, there's a lot of struggle
Yeah.
and people seem to feel really stuck and there's a lot of problems. And at age 15, I thought, I can't think of anything better to do with my life than to make the world a better place, than to find some way, my own way, that I can take who I am and my personality and my talents and skills and in some way be making a positive difference on the planet.
That's
And
pretty
so
wise for 15. I don't think
the
many
idea,
15-year-olds probably think like that. I don't think I did.
I guess I was lucky to have just that whatever it was, I had different elements that caused the awakening, and for that to happen at 15, and through my teen years, I began to think about, well, how can I do that? How can I have a positive impact on the planet? How can I help people?
Yeah.
And it kind of transitioned over time. I thought, well, maybe I can become an author, and I'll write books, and books can be translated to different languages, and they can go to different countries. And then I thought, yes, that gets ideas out there, but can I really help that deep change happen? Sometimes it's not just reading something that's going to get you that deep transformation you probably need in order to get out of a dead end job or have, really juicy loving relationships or fix your health, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't deep enough. And I thought, well, maybe I could start a charity. Yeah, and so I kind of over time kept playing with, given who I am, how can I have this impact? And how can I have a bigger impact? And when I was 18, these words came to me that said, your mission is to accelerate the evolution of the human species. Now, I don't know why those words, that's what came to
Again,
me.
again, you're only 18 there. That's pretty cool.
And so, I went into university, I studied sociology. This is about society and people. And then I realized I don't know how to turn this into a job. And I decided to travel. And I took off and I backpacked. I ended up backpacking for 2 years straight.
Wow.
Now, that wasn't the plan when I started out. I was just going to go to Europe and then work in London for 6 months because I had a work permit. And that first year, I dedicated to learning about the world at large and how things really were. I know I studied it in books and in college, but what's it really like? And so
Yeah.
everyone that I met as I traveled, I asked them, what's it like to be a man in your country? What's it like to be a woman? What are relationships like? What's life like? What's money like? Just tell me about all these different aspects of life in your society. And I just kind of did those interviews the whole first year. And the whole second year I dedicated to discovering my relationship with spirituality. Like, what does that mean to me? And so I played with different spiritual principles while I was out there on the road just to see what worked and what didn't. And all of that, I thought, when I came back, I thought, I'm going to be able to know exactly what I want to do once I go out there and learn about the world. And I came back and realized I don't know how to turn that into a job.
Yeah.
How do you make this work as a job? And I heard this quote from Confucius when I was younger, and it's something to the effect of, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life.
Hmm.
And I thought, I want that. So what do I love? Well, I love being playful. I love being creative. I love improvisation. I used to be really shy, and I put myself through theater for 4 years, and I grew out of my shyness, but I also grew a love for theater and being playful and silly on stage. So I love being on stage. I love helping people. I want to make a difference. I want to work with transformation. And so how do you bring all of those elements together? Oh, and I love to teach. So I just looked at all the different elements and began to combine all of those things into what can I do that involves those elements. And I had an ethical capitalism class when I was in university, and these two guys came back, and they had already made $2.1 million, and they said, look, you're going to be tempted to want to think through and figure out exactly what you want to do before you make a move. And that's a mistake. You have to just, knowing what you know right now, take the best step, learn from that step, course correct, next step. Learn from that step, course correct, next step. So just
Yeah.
stay in action. And so for me, I went to a career center, looked at all the binders, police, lawyer, doctor, nurse, and just they only had the most basic of job titles. And the closest thing I could find was psychologist. And so I went out, got my master's in actually social work, clinical social work, and started getting out there and working in the field. And actually, I'm starting to get into a little bit of, I think, what your next question is going to be about, because my purpose, as I said, came to me kind of at 15 and 18, and I began to work with it through life. But I know that you wanted to kind of switch into
Yeah.
talking about what next.
Yeah, well, I mean, you really, so a lot of these interviews that I've done, a lot of people gave, their story and broke it out in chunks, and a lot of people didn't really know. You kind of intuitively knew, and I think it's really interesting that you knew that and you took all of those steps kind of naturally. And the key part that I picked up on there that I think um, whoever is watching is that you just, that advice of just taking that next step without knowing the exact outcome is the biggest and best thing that you can do. You know that you're going towards it. It's like going
Yeah.
towards a big bright light, if you will, and knowing that once you get there, you're going to the on the other side is going to be something pretty cool, and it's going to be really what you're going to shine in.
Yeah, in essence, it's moving towards what you want, even if you don't know exactly what it is yet, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
and that's the really hard part that I think holds a lot of people back is they know they want to go do X, Y, and Z. They know they want to go be a dolphin trainer or whatever, but they live somewhere where dolphins don't exist, and it's hard to make that bridge gap because there's a lot
Yeah.
of fear to get over that, and it's like you just have to go one step at a time towards the dolphins or whatever it is in your case, and you'll eventually get there, but you have to keep that in front of you along the way. Does that make
Yeah,
sense? Yeah.
absolutely. Bit by
So
bit, just keep inching your way there, in essence.
yeah, because I mean, like you're saying, you didn't realize that you thought you might be an author, but you probably didn't realize that you're going to be a speaker
Right.
and help businesses internationally and all of these things. That wasn't something you went, I'm going to be an international business consultant and I'm going to put this in my plan and then I'm going to execute all these steps. You just went for it and went towards
Yeah.
whatever and figured it out. I know I'm really belaboring the point there, but I think it's really important to understand that you just have to step into whatever direction it is for you.
Yeah.
And then the question that I was kind of leading to, in all of these is how did you turn that
Yeah.
into a
Into a
business?
business.
You know?
And so it started out with just following the scent of the trail and going into becoming a psychologist and doing therapy. And in that first year in my master's program, I realized this isn't what I want. And so I spoke to my favorite professor and I said, this isn't exactly what I was looking for. And I described more of what I wanted. I wanted to help people achieve something. I wanted to be future focused and goal oriented. I didn't necessarily want to simply talk about problems or depression or anxiety or
Yeah.
things of those elements. And she said, well, I think what you're looking for is coaching. And I said, basketball? She said, no, it's a new field. Go check it out. And
Yeah.
I went and took a coaching entire course and fell in love. But at the time, I was already a therapist. I had all the therapy toolbox, I had all the coaching toolbox, and I was still meeting clients who had been in therapy for 30 years, and they still weren't having the lives they wanted. They
Yeah.
still weren't having the breakthroughs that they were showing up for. And I thought, something's missing in the therapy toolbox and in the coaching toolbox because people are still stuck. And I was actually told, um, if your client isn't progressing, you should say to them, look, I don't think you're ready for this change. So we should not coach anymore and come back to me when you feel ready. And I thought that was total BS because they came to me because they wanted to change. It's
Yeah.
my job as their coach, their therapist, their whatever, service provider, to figure out what's blocking them and help them get unstuck. And so I kept searching. And one piece of the story that I left out is that back when I traveled for 2 years, I contracted a mystery illness that no doctor could diagnose. And I was in doctors in Southeast Asia and Asia and Europe and America, and nobody could figure out what it was. Eastern medicine, Western medicine, alternative medicine, nothing helped. And I was stuck with this weird condition that gave me chronic fatigue, insomnia, cognition issues, trouble thinking, speaking, reading, writing. It was really taking me down. And when I was working as a therapist, I had realized, nobody seems to be able to solve this health issue. Everyone just keeps telling me we can't find anything wrong with you, so you're just going to have to live with this. And that's not a good enough answer for me. I don't want to have to live with this for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
but I also knew that no one could help me. And so I realized I'm just going to have to get on with life for now and do my best with whatever this condition is. And I'm out there in the field doing therapy, and I ended up working in a toxic work environment. And it was making me sicker and sicker to be there. And I knew at this point, I've got to get out. And it was at this time period that I learned that about 10% of what shows up in your life comes from your conscious mind. And about 90% of what shows up in your life comes from your unconscious habits and patterns. And so for all these years as a therapist and a coach, I was barking up the wrong tree. That's all conscious mind work. And so I went out and I started studying everything I could get my hands on for how do you break through people's unconscious habits and patterns? How do you heal those? How do you transform those? And I took the best of the best of the best and I created family entanglement work and childhood reimprinting work. And I used these tools on myself first, and it blew me away because symptom after symptom just lifted. The energy, that chronic fatigue stuff,
Yeah.
gone, right? Like the strange anxiety that came with it, gone. And I thought, oh my gosh, 10 years of searching. Finally something works. And I got excited. I was using it on myself. I brought it to my clients, and the places that they had been stuck for 10, 20, 30 years, sometimes their entire lifetimes, they were starting to finally have the breakthroughs that they were asking for and looking for. And so it was at this time period that I realized I got to get out of this toxic work environment. I've got tools now that I'm in love with. I got tools that I've been looking for how many years in my journey of how do I find the way that I can help people. And I went out and I started creating a private practice in coaching. And I was helping entrepreneurs breaking through their money ceiling, so that amount of money you seem to be able to make or keep every month, and then if you start to go above it, speeding ticket, random fines, bills, need to go to the doctor, whatever, sucks it away. So helping people break through their money ceiling, helping people work through, of course people came to me for health issues because I was able to work on mine that way, and helping people grow their business with it. And so I started out doing that as a private practice,
Yeah.
and I started doing live events because, as I said, as you heard before, how can I bring in this teaching that I want to do and still be able to be on stage, be creative, have fun, be playful, and travel the world? I didn't insert
Don't
that in
lie.
there from
It's
before.
okay. It's who you are. You want to travel. I'm the same
I
way.
got the travel bug. I got the wanderlust from all those years of travel, and I wanted that freedom in my life. And so when I first started setting up my business, I started to bring all these elements in, and I was doing this work for people and starting to do live events. And bit by bit, I started being able to integrate these elements of being able to teach, being able to be creative, being on stage. It turned into public speaking and being a trainer. None of this is what I planned ahead of time. The pieces just kind of began to appear and make sense as I went along after I got clear on my purpose and some of the things that I love and wanted in my life and wanted to be able to do. And so bit by bit, those all kind of came together to the point where I was able to grow a business. I was able to, in fact, I used the family entanglement work, I used the childhood reimprinting work on myself, on my own money blocks, on my own business blocks, so that I was able to grow a sold-out coaching practice in a month and a half, which blew me away. I didn't think that was possible. I was able to leave my full-time job. My plan was to go part-time and then completely quit, and it turned out I couldn't go part-time, so I had to really quickly try to get a bunch of clients. Month and a half, quit the job, had a full practice, and within, I think, 9 months, I broke through 6 figures. That was also unplanned. That just happened. I didn't even realize it happened until the next year. But it kind of it showed me that the power of removing these unconscious blocks, removing our money blocks, removing our business and sort of customers coming in blocks was really powerful. And so I started using that work with my clients and doing that for them until it came to the point that in the middle of a live event, I'm on stage and somebody raises their hand in the middle of me talking about family entanglements and says, "Can you teach me how to set up a business so that I can also travel the world as much as you do while still running my business?"
Yes.
And I was like, okay, yes. And so recently I also launched that program, which is helping people have an international speaking and service business that allows them the freedom to travel the world and, you know, all the good stuff, be on radio shows and podcasts and have your own, all that stuff. So, right, that's the whole sort of, if you want that freedom lifestyle, you got to start getting into that virtual world and having virtual programs and live groups, but that are virtual, membership sites, all that good stuff. So it all fell into place bit by bit.
The thing that kind of came up, the 2 parts, and we'll get to something came up within me about the workshop, and I want to talk about that. But I want to talk about first is more about the limiting beliefs, because I think some people, especially people that are going to resonate with you, they may already know exactly where they need to go. They know where that light is, and they're stepping towards it, but they have some of those blocks. What are some of those tools? I mean, you mentioned some of them, but what are some ways that people, you know, that they can start today and start releasing some of those old beliefs that are really holding them back?
What I actually discovered is that it wasn't simply just limiting beliefs that were getting in the way. It was actually something deeper than that. The childhood imprint stuff is really, you want to start looking in your own childhood and start thinking back to what are some of the messages that you received about yourself growing up, from your parents, from your siblings, from people at school. You know, did you begin to learn through how people reflected you back to you or how they treated you? Did you begin to take in messages like, I'm not important, I don't matter, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't have what it takes, I'm unwanted, I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable? These are some of the most common childhood imprints that will absolutely block you from having the life that you want, the business that you want, the lifestyle that you want. So from a childhood imprint perspective, and I'll actually gift everyone a gift to help them identify what are your childhood imprints, which ones do you have that are active that are blocking you right now. So that's childhood imprints. Family entanglements are the generational patterns that you inherited around money and around business. So the first place to look is think about your family tree and think about who else struggled with money and who else struggled with business or doing what they loved or getting to be paid well for doing what they loved. I've worked with people who said, yeah, my dad always wanted to be a musician. It was his passion, but he never got to do it. He had to work this dead-end job just to make sure we can make ends meet, and he never got to realize his dream. That kind of background in your family tree creates an unconscious block for you to have that kind of life, the life where you get to follow your passion and you get paid well for doing what you love. So now is the time to start doing a little bit of detective work and
Yeah.
thinking about what messages did I get in my childhood about myself, about money as well, and then in terms of family entanglements in your family tree, who else struggled with money? Who else struggled with business or getting to do what they love? Did you come from a family that's mainly employees and not a lot of entrepreneurs? That also creates a bit of a lack of permission, lack of unconscious permission
Yeah. It's
to
a
step
difference
into
in
that
how you're
world.
treated. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and how we just have these unconscious permission blocks. Let's just call them that. Lack of permission to be able to proceed in a certain area of our lives. And it's unconscious. It's not like our conscious mind is noticing this. What we do notice, though, is that things are a struggle. It's harder to take those steps to get your business going. You feel stuck. You feel procrastination. You feel resistance. It even shows up inside your own body as resistance or fear. And really, it's not your own fear. It's not your own resistance. It's simply the family entanglements and the lack of permission to move forward that's holding you back. Because when we clear that, suddenly people don't feel the fear anymore and they don't feel the resistance anymore, and it's just easy for things to start falling into place.
Yeah.
So these work in a more mysterious way than limiting beliefs.
I think it's, for me and how I translate that in my head, and I think some other people can relate to this, is that so if you do come from a family of employees and not entrepreneurs, when you step into that entrepreneur space, your family doesn't know what you're doing really, and they don't know how to really support you.
On a
And
conscious mind level,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
There's
and
there's
it
less
creates a
sort
lot
of
of conflict.
support. Yeah, it can do. And on an unconscious level, it's really hard for us to have what other family members didn't get to have. There's a sense of almost like we're betraying them because we're having it better than they did. It's a little bit hard to explain right now in this interview. It's,
No,
it's
I
a
think
lot easier. I'm gonna.
yeah, I think I get that because I'm just now finished with my first book, and I'm the first person in the family that I know that's wrote something, and it's a little I'm at the that weird stage where things are really starting to come together and take off, and yeah, so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, there's an unconscious need to belong to our family, to our tribe. It's our old tribal mentality, our old tribal working in our brain. And so when other family members didn't get to do something, we have an unconscious desire to belong to the tribe, and the way that we belong is to be the same as, right? Is to match. That's how you recognize that the tribal members back in the day is you have the same garb, gear, style of talking, language, movement. So in this case, it's this old tribal conditioning of be the same as your family members. If others struggled with money, if others didn't get to do what they loved, we start to unconsciously stick in that realm, stay in that realm, because that's what's safe, that's where we belong, that's what the tribe does. All
Yeah.
unconscious stuff, but it does definitely pull you back like a bungee cord.
Yeah, it definitely does, and like in my case, I'm the little brother, so
Oh.
that's a whole other that's a whole other dynamic within that, and moving uh, and interacting in that, and now going as an entrepreneur is just a little different. So, but I wanted to I didn't want to I wanted to move forward around that workshop idea. And the reason I'm asking is it's kind of got a little bit of an intuitive hit for anybody who is watching that. So once you have and you're going towards that what you want in your life, what's something someone who's never done a workshop before? How do they kind of get into that? And what advice do you have going forward on that? Because I think that's something that is a good way to give back to people because you're giving them the advice and the expertise that you have. And at the same time, you can use that as a lead generation and maybe some future clients, or maybe it's just a way to give back at first to your local community.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of my biggest pieces of advice around that is to get a mentor. Get a mentor who's doing it and who's doing it in a way that you want to do it, because I myself used to be of the mindset that we should all be independent. We're all independent creatures. Let's be independent beings. We could do this on our own. And so I was reading books. I was watching some random videos online and reading some websites and trying to figure it out on my own by piecing things together bit by bit. And what happened was I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of energy.
A lot of
I
money,
could have
probably.
gotten my business started so much faster, easier, and sooner had I just hired a mentor sooner. I eventually hired a mentor, and then everything started getting much smoother, and because you've got systems in place, right? So don't try to do it on your own. I used to think it's all about, we're independent beings. It's all about becoming and staying independent. No, we're not independent beings. We're interdependent. We've always been tribal and community creatures as mammals.
Yeah.
So I was kind of going against the grain of what we actually are. We learn best and we heal best through another, not by ourselves. So finding that somebody that could give you the good guidance and the systems and the tools and the templates, you can succeed in a fraction of the time that it took your mentor to succeed. Because if your mentor had to figure it out on their own, that's trial and error. That
Yeah.
takes so much time and energy. You lose a lot of money, you leave a lot of money on the table. If you just find the mentor, you can just hop, skip, and jump right through a lot of the potholes, the dead-end roads, all the stuff that would have wasted your time, energy, and money. So one of the smartest things you can do is to find somebody who can teach you how to do that. And yes, doing workshops, doing live events, learning how to speak and teach ends up being such a valuable skill and tool if you're wanting to start a business, because that's how you get your message out there. That's how you can, as you said, give back. That's how people learn about you and from you. And then they realize, oh my gosh, I want to continue working with her. I want to continue working with him. They're onto something, and I like their vibe, or I like their spirit, or I like what they're saying. And so it's a great way to get out there.
Yeah, I think just by doing the speaking, you present yourself as the authority in whatever you're doing, and that creates value just in and of itself. And they see you as that expert and want to continue to work with you. And the thing that I keep reminding myself about is when I go to do speaking, is that you just have to be yourself, because if you try to put on a front of perfectionism or reading from the script or whatever, it's not gonna come off, and it's not gonna connect with the people that are there to see you and experience whatever you're teaching. It's just not going to connect. And when there's connection with people, they want to be like you. They want to pay you to work with you. That everything kind of just goes together once that actual connection happens. Any tidbits of advice on that? I know this is a little off subject, but I just kind of go with the flow here.
Actually,
on how to create those connections, when you're actually working, in front of stage. I've seen some of your speaking, so I know you're natural, and you just are yourself.
Thank you, but it took work to get there, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've noticed is one of the biggest blocks to being comfortable on stage and having the audience feel connected to you is there's a particular entanglement called no permission for connection. Now, no matter if you're speaking one-on-one, let's say you're starting a business and you're talking to one person and you want them to sign up as a customer. Yeah. Or you're on a stage and you're speaking to a whole audience and you're hoping that in the audience people will be able to come forth that feel a connection with you and they want to work with you. Whether it's one-on-one or with an audience, either way, one of the most essential ingredients to people wanting to work with you, wanting to become a customer, is their ability to feel connected with you when you're talking to them. And one of the biggest blocks to that happening is a particular entanglement called no permission for connection. And what it does is, you won't notice this consciously, but unconsciously you're putting out a vibe of there's no permission to connect with me. Don't come too close. For some reason,
away.
There's sort of a stay away order, and it's silent and invisible. You won't notice it, and the other person won't notice it. How it will occur to the other person or to the audience is, I don't know why, but I just don't feel called to work with this person. I don't know why, but I just don't
want to buy their stuff. I don't want to buy their stuff.
And they won't be able to name it and say, oh my gosh, something about this person feels like I can't connect. They won't necessarily name it that way. They just don't feel like signing up. And that particular entanglement is caused by if someone in your family tree didn't get to marry someone they loved, if they lost their love, if somebody else was stoic and closed off and walled up. So if somebody else seemed to be a closed-off person, if they had a closed-off heart, if they themselves were distant or stoic, then you start inheriting that pattern unconsciously, and you won't even notice it, but it's emanating from you silently.
There's so
And
much.
so,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, when I've worked with people who have that, I mean, they don't do anything different. They don't change anything about how they're doing their talk one-on-one with people or how they're speaking in front of an audience. And you go from one day where they go out and have a talk or they do a one-on-one call and people are just feeling standoffish and stay away from them. And then we do a session to unplug them from this unconscious pattern of no permission for connection. And next couple weeks, all these people are signing up and they're not doing anything different in their marketing, their sales, nothing. And it's because you're removing whatever this unconscious vibe is that the person's
Yeah.
emanating. So that's
It's
one of the biggest
and
reasons
that
that
goes a lot.
people struggle.
Yeah, it not just in that realm, but I mean it translates to a lot of other things that you're doing in your life too, like when you don't give your permission to connect with other people, so everything else doesn't. There's no connection, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it translates to a lot of different things. But yeah, because when there's no currency, there's no when there's no connection.
There's no currency.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying here. Uh,
You bet.
yeah. So we're kind of wrapping up here, and I want to kind of bring it back a little bit, to the purpose again. Is there any final words of advice? Not I hate the word final. I guess it seems
Yeah.
so. But yeah,
So final
anything.
thoughts on that.
Yeah.
There is something I'd like to share about that. Growing up, I was shy.
Hmm.
I never thought I'd travel the world. I never ever conceived of myself as a world traveler. I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. I never thought about business. I never had a lemonade stand. I never sold lollipops. I did none of it. I'm the last person that you'd think, given the shyness and the not going out there in the world, not ever having done anything business-like or entrepreneurial,
Yeah.
that you'd think would end up with the lifestyle and the business that I have. And so what I want to say is it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter where you're at now. You can change anything. You can shift anything about yourself. Through the work that I've done on myself and addressing my family entanglements, addressing my childhood imprints, so much has changed. Rather effortlessly, it's not like it's difficult work to do. It just kind of transitions. And so as those students that came back to me in university said, just keep moving forward. Stay in action. You don't have to know everything right now, and you don't have to be good at everything right now. I was crappy at most things when I started out in business.
I think we all are.
And you can learn, and you learn best when you've got a mentor showing you the steps and helping you remove the blocks and or seeing the, what to do in business. And so take it step by step. You don't have to be a natural at any of it. All of it is learnable. Step by step, bit by bit, berry by berry.
So when the last part of that is that once you actually step into it and you start doing it, it starts to become and feel natural. And then once your purpose is behind that, it feels good and normal, and
And you can work around any
yeah.
obstacle. I mean, I built the business while what it was chronic Lyme disease. I built the business
Oh
while I
yeah.
had this chronic illness. And I was working full time and I only had evenings and weekends and I was, trying to make all that work. No matter what your obstacles are, you can have some crazy disease that nobody can help you with. You can have, I don't know, whatever it may be, so little time, so little energy, so little money. You can still make it happen. Just keep moving forward step by step. And there's always a workaround for obstacles. I've become over time masterful at helping people work around any bizarre obstacle in their life because all of it is workaroundable.
Yeah,
All of it.
it's not a solid wall that stops you. It's just you have to take a step back, look at it, and go, oh, I just have to go to the left 20 feet, or to the right, or
You bet.
wherever, or you
There's
got to get a
always a
rope.
way to get creative and find some workaround for whatever the issue is.
Yeah, there is who was I talking to? Oh, it was someone on. Oh, it was this gal, Laura House. She's a dating coach, and she likes to say to her clients that she gets to push them up by their butt. get them over the obstacle of what in their dating life. But it's the same thing in business too. It's like sometimes you need that person to slap you on the ass and get you going and push you up over the obstacle or push you to the right or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
And to
that
help clear the road of the brambles and the overgrowth and chop through some of those vines that are in the way. I mean, you don't have to do it by yourself, right?
no,
There's other people that you can hire that can actually help you clear the path for you. You don't even have to be the one that's clearing the path.
nope.
So get the support, get the support around you. Find the support so you're not doing it alone. And then when you do it alone, what happens? You feel discouraged.
Yeah.
You struggle. You start getting depressed. You want to throw in the towel. Sometimes you get desperate. It's hard to get clients when you're feeling desperate and like, oh my gosh, tense. So don't let yourself fall into that place. Get the support. Find the ways to get the support. Find the ways to remove the unconscious blocks, because those things are sneaky. No matter how much
They always
business
reappear.
you have, if you don't address those, you can do all the good business skills and tools that you want. They won't work if you don't address the unconscious blocks.
Yeah, there's so much there. The perfect you said it. I forgot my train of thought. I had the perfect segue to end this. Um, anyways, I'm not a perfectionist at interviewing people, at least not yet. I think I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, throw
But
perfection out the window, I say.
yeah,
We're just playing off the cuff, but I know that we want to give a gift to your
yeah,
community.
that's exactly what I was going to say. If you could describe the perfect type of person that you love to work with, and the same type in that same vein, the people that love to work with you, can you describe them and then
Oh,
tell them
yeah.
about the free gift?
Absolutely. So the perfect kind of person that I like to work with is somebody who's feeling stuck and they're not able to move forward for some reason. It may be emotional reasons like resistance or fear or procrastination's coming up. It might be sort of outer world reasons like I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do X. And I'm sitting here trying to figure it out on my own and it's just taking too long and I'm getting frustrated. So anyone that's feeling stuck in their world has some obstacles. Sometimes those obstacles are health issues. Sometimes, actually, people come to me to work on relationships too and finding their soulmate because that has unconscious blocks as well. But anytime you're feeling stuck, that tends to be the people that they're looking for a breakthrough. They're looking for some obstacle clearing. That's who I work with. That's perfect. That's what I specialize in helping people get out of. So the gift that I'm giving is an online course
Hmm.
that's going to help you identify, well, first of all, it's going to help you learn what are the different childhood imprints, what are the different family entanglements, and then I'm going to actually help you identify which ones you have that are getting in your way, which ones that
Cool.
are right now that are active, and they're getting in your way, blocking you from getting what you want, whether it's business, money breakthroughs. People always come back for relationship breakthroughs and health breakthroughs. And then I'm going to do some mini session to help you actually get some movement and break free. So in the course, I'm actually going to do some session work with you as well. And so you'll want to sign up for that and let me know what time of day you want to do the course. What day, what time of day you want to do the course. So name, email, time of day, which day,
Cool. And
and
what
we'll get you in there.
and where can they find that?
That'll be at danagarrison.com/Brad.
All right, I
So
know
your name. Your
that.
community, the Brad community, yeah,
Yeah.
can go and get that gift. Normally, it's something that is a paid service that my clients get once they start working with me, and I'm going to
Mhm.
actually give this as a gift.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Dana. I appreciate all the advice. I think it's been really helpful. And if anybody, if Dana's resonated with you, go check out her website. Click on the link to, schedule a free session and get the free gift and start unblocking yourself and going towards your goals. So thanks again, Dana. I really appreciate it. You have a great day.
All right, you too. Thank you.